you'll see this. Okay, so a lot of this can be done once you read the videos, and I wrote this before I made the videos, so the implementation is just slightly different. Namely, I put the node class outside of the index tree class. Okay, so the node and the tree are in separate classes, just like it's the same as though a linked list had its node in a separate class, which means that it really doesn't mean it doesn't make too much of a difference. It just means you have to look in another place to play with the node. You will want to implement this over here, toString. It can be done in one line. And the most important thing, one of the biggest errors that I see here, or one of the biggest things that trip people up, is this is a list over here. You will want to initialize this list in the constructor. Otherwise, it will be set to null. And when you try to add something to this list, it will go poof, right? So it's a node with a list in it as data. As far as this is concerned, this is really the only unique part that you're going to be altering, because the delete method and contains method and the write pretty much should be exactly the same. The other thing, though, so it may be simple, but there's a lot of like little headaches that like little tiny things that can trip you up during this that I deliberately include in this, because there are things you will encounter in the quote unquote real world, which somehow differentiates the real world from this, which I guess is completely fake. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, so right over here, this is your, so you're going to be wanting to read a file. If you haven't read a file before, for some reason, then over here is a third Java file that it shows you an example of how to read a file using Scanner, which you should know by now. Scanner, it's amazing. You can use it for this one, and you simply use while loop with a scanner. Now this file over here is from Project Gutenberg. Who knows what Project Gutenberg is?
It's like a text. I don't know if it's like a generative thing, but it like you can search for any string and it'll find it in like random text.
You're thinking of the tower. You're thinking of the Library of Babel.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, which I'm impressed that you knew what that was. Which is one of my favorite things. Library of Babel is basically the idea of what if we had access to a library that had literally every single text ever written and could be written, which meant that, of course, that most of it is gibberish. But that also means like the book with the true, that contains the true meaning of life is somewhere in there. So now, as far as now, Akshay said open source texts, and I want to just clarify that is very close. It is public domain texts. So specifically, Project Gutenberg holds things that have fallen into the public domain. So over here, right? And that's great because you can actually use like nice giant corpuses of English text. I like getting Billy Shake's complete works over here, mainly because it's a 5 megabyte file. Now this is significant because you will run into issue because 5 megabytes, right? How big is 5 megabytes in the grand scheme of things that your computer cares about? How big is it? It's nothing. 5 gigabytes is nothing. Sorry, 5 megabytes is nothing, right? My cache, my CPU's cache, I think has two 16 gigabyte caches on it. It's nothing. The entire file could fit in my CPU's cache these days, and yet you're going to find that there are some issues with printing things out. Like if you try to read this book and print out line by line, you'll find wait, it only like printed out the bottom half of the text file. So those are things that will happen because this is a large text file, even though it's not really that large. And this is because like terminals, like this fellow over here, right? They have a certain buffer that they will let you print out. There's a certain amount of text that they will let you that it will let you hold. Make sense? So if once the buffer fills up, which you'll see in an IDE, it will like start just ejecting stuff from the top so that it can make room for the new stuff. So there's just these little things in here. And it's not a hard assignment at all. It's really not. This is one of the easier ones, but it's just full of these little things that are important that I can't really teach other than making you do it. It's like, yeah, I could tell you about it, but you got to experience it to know, okay, now that this has happened, I know what I'll do in the future. Okay. So any questions? Any questions so far? Because otherwise, I think I'm going to split people up into breakout rooms so that I can take care of demos as well as questions.
Is that your dog in the back?